Hello, I'm Joe Pryweller, Conference Director with Plastics News, and with me today is Jeff Ignatowski, Director of Sales and Marketing with Prism Plastics in Chesterfield, Michigan. Prism is a phenomenal story. They won this year's Plastics News Excellence Award for Customer Relations, and they started in 1999, been a phenomenal growth every year since then, and they have a very interesting process that Jeff's going to talk about a little bit today. Precision is a highly automated precision injection molder, and they have plants in Michigan and also one in Texas. Jeff, let's talk a little bit about your strategy for growth and what sets you apart as a processor in this crowded field. First of all, I'm sure you've seen a lot of competitive pressure and the pressure to differentiate with so many injection molders out there. Is that something that really fueled a lot of what you've been doing at Prism?
One of the things that we realized very early on is that there's a lot of injection molders in the world, and so we really had to look at things differently. And most of what we've done is try to simplify things as much as possible, but then also apply as much technology to the process as well, so that we're constantly raising the bar from a technology standpoint, which allows us to really exceed our customers' expectations.
Outstanding. Let's get into some of the things you're doing in that regard. First of all, I know a lot of people talk about what's a major part of your organization is something called the Prism Way. And I know it generally has to do with things like all electric molding machines and small plants and automated equipment. But I thought maybe you'd explain what that is and really the origins and the genesis of some of that.
The Prism Way really consists of four major indicators. The first being simple, the second being lean, the third being intelligent, and then lastly process-driven. What I mean by lean is that we have a very shallow organization structure. We don't have 3 or 4 levels of management. We actually don't even have press operators with a few exceptions.
Interesting.
So for the amount of sales that we have, we really have few employees, which allows us to stay very lean. From a simple standpoint, you'll find all our equipment is uniform. So for example, as you mentioned, we used all Toshiba presses.
Okay.
We use all Yushin robots. So even our conveyor systems are all uniform across the organization with each of our facilities. With that, even our copy machines are the same. From an intelligence standpoint, again, it's to apply as much technology as possible to the process. And using the equipment that we have in place, we've identified that as key from a technology standpoint.
Okay, in what way? You talk about automation, or are you talking about different types of technologies?
Just from an automation standpoint, that we feel that the combination of the equipment that we have allows us to yield the best process and the best technology.
Okay.
And then finally, is process-driven, is everything in our organization has a process defined. And a lot of companies will state that from an ISO standpoint, but even from the early quoting standpoint all the way through production, everything is very process-driven. When we set up a press, for example, we'll find the optimum parameters, and we then actually narrow them even further so that the process is extremely tight.
Interesting. So everything, you're very focused on quality, but I understand you don't have a quality department at Prism, which is sort of an interesting anomaly. Can you explain some of that or how that works?
Yes, that statement is usually quite shocking to customers or potential customers when they find out we don't have a formal quality department. So you won't find a director of quality or quality personnel. That's not to say we don't have individuals that handle PPAP and things of that nature.
Sure.
But what we have always felt that quality is sort of a post-manufacturing process or discipline, where we have actually integrated it from the very beginning all the way through. And so by having quality integrated not only in the people, but in the equipment, we have felt no need for our quality department, and that has really proven successful. We ship about 500 million parts a year with less than 1 ppm corporate-wide.
How do you do that through people? How do you substitute a quality department for that, for the use of people?
Well, number one
Can you give me an example maybe of how that works?
Number one is by hiring the best people that we can find,
Okay.
people that care, A lot of times they might not be as advanced from a technology standpoint, but first and foremost, we find people that care. One of the things we tell employees very early on, because we make a lot of safety type components that go into automobiles, is would you want one of our parts that's defective to be in your family's vehicle when there's a car crash?
So you think about personally a little bit, right?
Correct.
Interesting. And I know also your plants are fairly small, right? They're 30,000 square feet or under, is that right? Does that help with some of this?
That is another way that we create focus for our customers, as well as also perpetuates the Prism Way, is we don't believe in having these massive 100,000 square foot facilities with 100 presses in it. We might have 16 presses at the very most in one of our facilities, and those facilities allow us to operate. We literally have 3 people running each of the facilities, and they're really process engineers.
Wow.
So by being very lean and nimble, if you will, it allows us to maintain that focus.
And put out as many parts as you do, well, you have 3 plants, right?
Correct.
And be able to put out as many parts as you do with 3 plants that are 30,000 square feet or under has to be quite an operation, I would think.
Yes, we're very proud of our operations. They're very clean, they're very automated, and we feel that we can execute based on that design.
Excellent. Well, I know that you won the Customer Relations Award, Excellence Award, and we're a finalist for Plastics News Processor of the Year this year also. Can you talk a little bit about the long-term track record you have in that area and what might have led to winning that award? What do you do to empower or help your customers, or what work are you doing in that area that fit that criteria?
Sure. Well, first, having that footprint allows us to have customer focus. Each of the facilities are really designed customer specific. So we might not have more than 1 or 2 customers being utilized out of a given facility.
Okay.
That in itself creates a lot of focus. From an engineering standpoint and a account management standpoint, each of the engineers or salespeople only handle a maximum of maybe 4 accounts.
Okay.
That allows us to really have extreme focus. But beyond that, we believe in exceeding all our customers' expectations, from early launches to simply executing flawlessly.
Okay.
And also trying to be an engineering resource more than just making parts.
You're their engineering partner in a lot of cases.
Correct.
And like you said, the focus is only on a few customers as opposed to having a multitude that are difficult to serve in some cases.
Right. So as a result, over the years, we have not lost a customer.
Is that right?
We've received many customer awards from each of our customers, so we're very proud of that.
That's excellent. What markets are you in primarily?
Right now, we're predominantly in the automotive industry, but we're looking to expand based on our current niche.
Okay. Excellent. I know a lot of what you do is difficult to mold parts, complicated parts, precision parts. What kind of challenges that presented? Is that a key part of the company's mission and strategy to make those difficult to mold parts in some cases?
Well, really having that defined niche of difficult to mold functional parts really fits well with the strategy of having the most technology that's needed. So by applying everything that we've described allows us to really focus on those parts and yield positive results for those tight tolerance type components.
Excellent. I'm curious. I know you've expanded a little bit with your company.
Right.
Any thoughts about staying in the U.S., or was it worth going globally with some of this with your facilities? And with the Prism Way work, if you did something more than just mostly in Michigan and one in Texas anyway.
One of the other components of the Prism Way really becomes the culture.
The culture, okay.
Wrapping the things up that I've described, you need the people to execute and the culture.
Right.
And that's one of the things that we struggled with. Obviously, there's different cultures throughout the world.
Sure.
Is how to execute that culture within those different areas. But based on the fact that our parts are very small, so logistics isn't a big issue, and the fact that we really don't have much of a labor content because of the automation, that we haven't really found major obstacles in supporting the rest of the world at this point.
Sure. And do it from your facilities that you have in the U.S. also, I guess. Huh?
Correct.
with some of this. That's excellent. I guess in general, Jeff, are you seeing competitive pressures increasing in these areas, or do you think you have sort of a niche or differentiator among all the many injection molders, some of which are precision also that are out there?
We can continue to see competition. I think one of the things with the world constantly expanding and being global is a lot of the regional resin prices can be an issue, especially if we have customers that originate, let's say in Japan, for example. A lot of times on their drawings, they'll put local resins. And then when it comes time for us to produce the parts in the United States, we're somewhat kind of backtracking to try to get local resins to the U.S.
I see. It's interesting. Anything at MPEP you're particularly looking at or excited about seeing, or any innovation and trends that you're seeing at the show? I know it's just started, so maybe it's a tough question to ask, but I will anyway.
No, that's a great question. We're really down here to continue to look for new technologies and new ways of doing things. We don't want to stay in a paradigm.
Right.
So, for example, we're looking at some additional automation in robots. We're looking at some vision systems as well while we're here. And again, really just kind of staying on top of the leading edge of technology.
Are you seeing some new technology in automation and robotics that might be of interest to what you're doing?
Yes.
That's a growing field that you're finding?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, good, Jeff. I think that'll do it. I appreciate you sitting down with us today for our conversation with Plastics News, and best of continued luck, and congratulations on your award.
Great. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Thank you.